All right, so here are my top 3 questions or concerns that I get when I tell other people that I used donated breast milk. Sorry, excuse me. Hi. Wren has gone from eating next to me to playing next to me, so we'll see how long she lets me do this before nap time. Hi there, welcome to our channel. My name is Emma, and I have a 10-month-old daughter named Wren. After traveling to over 60 countries and living in a whole bunch of places, I finally found home, and in the middle of the pandemic I decided to have a baby by myself. So I had Wren 10 months ago, and this is a story of home and our life and raising a baby on my own, and also how we came to be where we are right now. So thanks for joining, and I hope some of this is helpful. All right, anyways, top 3. First is motivation. So why are these women doing this? If you don't understand the unregulated milk, donor milk community system, then you don't understand that there is no financial compensation. There are places that you can buy milk. So milk banks are regulated, the milk's been tested. It often goes to high needs babies, like NICU babies, preemie babies, totally legit and totally regulated. It's quite expensive, and it's fine. And it didn't really work for us. I wasn't a high need mom per se, and on a budget. So people are like, well, these women, you know, like they could have nefarious motivation, right? Because they're getting paid. I didn't pay any of these women. Sometimes they asked for bags, like milk bags, specified like brand, whatever, right? They wanted bags so that they could use bags to fill up the milk, right? And so that is one concern and one question I get a lot of. The other is contamination and what this milk is. So breast milk is amazing. Liquid gold, you know, cures almost anything, right? Like if your kid has a rash, give them breast milk. If they've got something in their eye, give them breast milk, right? If they're sick, give them breast milk. So it's this wonderfully curative product, and yet it can get contaminated if it's left out, if it's not frozen, if it's not stored frozen properly, if it's, you know, refrozen. There are all these rules and regulations. That said, one of the rules and regulations that changed over the course of her first 6 months or so was you weren't meant to pour like warm, like just recently pumped breast milk into cold breast milk, and then they just decided that that was fine. And so all those women who were like trying to figure out how to get the breast milk temperature correct and the same before they combined them, it was like, never mind, just kidding. So I'm not a scientist and I'm not a lactation specialist, but I realized that some of these rules and regulations are really important, and some of them feel like it's just an extra burden. And so you know, how this milk is stored. I met most of the moms that I received from, and they're all just kind of moms, you know, like they're moms like me. They all have a story. There's all a reason. I had this amazing mom who I bought we call it the office, although it's also known as the circle of neglect, secondhand off of, and she learned that I received donated breast milk and that I was in need, and she would like walk over at the end of her shift, because I lived near where she worked, with carrying like a bag of breast milk that she had pumped that day to give to me. And it was amazing. And so these are just moms, right? For the most part. Again, there's no financial motivation, as I explained, and so their motivation is usually altruistic. Now, I hold no liability or claim no liability, right? If you're going to go this route, do your due diligence, do your research, trust your gut, right? Like go with what you believe. Just remember that some of the rules and regulations out there are made by men, and we don't know as much as we need to know. And so contamination, there are a number of diseases that can be passed through breast milk. COVID is not one of them. HIV, AIDS, Hep B or Hep C, and CMV. And I looked into all of this. What's the worst case scenario? Those are pretty gnarly case scenarios. That said, all these women had babies. All these women, like, just gave birth generally. They're all babies around Wren's age. And in the context of where I am, I guess California, there was a slim chance of that. Also, it's not a guarantee. again, this is a high risk statement, but it's not a guarantee. If there was HIV/AIDS contaminated breast milk, if Wren has some, it's not a guarantee that she's going to get HIV/AIDS, right? One of the benefits of spreading out the donors across 11, 12, 13 different women was that Wren never got enough of one different breast milk supply to potentially make an impact, right? And again, I'm not an expert, I'm not a scientist, this is the thing about, you know, other moms and YouTube, but she had the most breast milk from me because I continue to breastfeed. I'm still breastfeeding at 10 months. And so the risk was low. I used to have a fancy career before I became a mom, and one of my jobs was risk assessment. And I do risk assessment in everything I do, in my head or on paper, or talking it out with other people. But I did my risk assessment and I realized that it was a low risk situation for her to have any sort of contamination from the milk. Also, if any of the milk was bad, she would have potentially a reaction to it, right? So if it had gone off, she would have a reaction. At no point over the course of the time that she's had donor breast milk, again, we're still doing it and she's 10 months, did she have any sort of reaction to any of the milk. She never rejected any of the milk. She downed it like a dream, like a monster, whatever, however you want to look at it. She just downed it easily and never had any sort of adverse reaction. So this led me to the conclusion that all of it was generally pretty good. All right, third. Oh yeah, it's a lot doing these YouTube videos. So contamination, motivation. Maybe it's just two. I think that's it. People are just concerned that like there's a financial motivation and that this breast milk might be contaminated and that these, yeah, and then it might be bad. Anyway, so those are my top two concerns of what other people see as concerns or issues with getting donated breast milk.